You know, when the issues of HIV positive persons are mentioned, you look over your shoulder at the next person and think that it can never be you. Well, let me let you in on the life of a friend of mine who is HIV positive. And let's see whether her story can make you change the way you think about HIV and people living with HIV.
An affable, happy-going, enthusiastic, young and beautiful lady, Joyce had a life as any normal person, with great ambitions and the desire to succeed in life. However, one uncalculated turn presents us with her situation today. Let's meet my friend.
Knowing your HIV status is not a death warrant. My name is Clement Aziwe. I am HIV positive. I am alive today because I've been on HIV treatment for the past 8 years. Be wise. See your doctor to prolong your life. Don't be deceived. Your life is precious.
Hello. It's good to see you. Good. How's everything?
Fine.
Okay, good. Pretty warm weather today.
Yeah.
All right, so but tell me, how did this all happen?
It started when I was 19 years old. I was in a church choir where I used to fellowship. And then I met a guy who was also in the choir. I wouldn't say a guy, but he was very matured. He was 47 by then. And he proposed to me, which I accepted because I also somehow fell in love with him. Not knowing he was living with HIV for some years, even before I joined the church. But he never disclosed his status to anybody. So when he asked me out, I also joined. And one day he asked me to go to his house where he used to live with his parents. And unfortunately, the parents are also in the church. So I will be seen as a bad girl if I should follow such a man to his house. So I told him, no, your parents are also in the church. They might think I'm a bad girl. Besides, the time he was asking me to go home with him will always be very late in the night. So I said no. Maybe you move out of the house, because he has already told me he was going to move out. So just about 2 weeks later, he had already moved out from his parents' house. And then he had gotten himself a new apartment somewhere. So he invited me home one night. And then I said, okay. And it was on a Valentine's Day. My going there was just to go and know his place. But he had a different agenda. So on that night, he insisted that we have sex, which I refused. But later, the way things were going, I had to agree because he overpowered me and I had to convince him to use condom because what I saw, I got scared. He said he was not going to use condom. He doesn't like it. But I had to insist for a very long time before he put it on. And then, unfortunately for me, he took it off without telling me that he was going to take it off. Before penetrating, he really took the condom off. So after the sex, I saw there were no condoms on. I said, what happened to the condom? And he said, but I told you I don't like it. I said, wow. In fact, I was very angry, but there was nothing I could do because it had already happened. I'm a singer. So 2007, because of this presidential, and I was also in a band. So we were traveling up and down. So just after that night, we started traveling, going for rehearsal up and down. I didn't have much time. I wasn't paying him visits. 3 weeks after that, I was pregnant. But I started throwing up. I was feeling sick, feeling feverish. So I had to go for checkup. That is when I got to know that I was pregnant. So I became pregnant. I informed him. He said I should take it off. It was during the pregnancy that I got to know of my HIV status. Now it's a routine in Ghana that pregnant women test for HIV when they are pregnant. So I went through the same process. But mine was very difficult because I was scared. as usual, people get scared when they are asked to do HIV tests. So because I was scared, I said I wasn't going to do it. But fortunately for me, there was one doctor at Kolebu called Dr. Emefa who saved my life. I always appreciate her because for about 2 months when I was counseled to do HIV tests, I refused. I said I would rather die. So on the 7th month of my pregnancy, she insisted again. There are a lot of pregnant women who come to checkups. But this lady spent a lot of time with me. That day, he really insisted that I take the test before I leave the hospital. So she had to invite one of the doctors to also come in to talk to me. They used themselves as an example. She also told me that even though she's a doctor, she sometimes goes for the test because she's married. So I said, okay, if you insist, then I will do the test, but I don't want to know my results. And she promised she was not going to tell me my results. But after the test, they called me back and told me that I have HIV. I'm HIV positive. It was very, very, very sad that day.
How did you feel? I mean, when you were told, I mean, you said you were sad, but what was your initial reaction?
In fact, I wasn't so surprised because, I had refused this test, knowing that it could be because I've had unprotected sex. That is what was scaring me. So behind me, I knew that it could be positive or negative. So when I heard the news, I wasn't surprised, but I was hurt. Well, I thought I could overcome it immediately. I was being so strong. But when the doctor said that there is a good news after that, I said, oh, maybe they were just deceiving me. So, doctor, what is the good news? And she said, oh, the good news is that now there is medication. I thought she was going to tell me they were lying. Now there is medication that I'll be taking that will protect my unborn child from being infected. So I'm lucky that now there is medication, so I shouldn't panic. All I need to do is to go and do a lab test to show whether I will go immediately on medication. So I had a test and then it shows that I had to go on medication because of the baby, because of the unborn child. So I took the medication for 2 months because I was by then 7 months pregnant. So 2 months after I gave birth, and before I gave birth, when I got to know of my status, I decided to inform the guy about it because he wasn't picking my calls because he asked me to abort the pregnancy. We were not in good terms. He would never pick my calls. There was no way I could communicate with him. Eventually, he died. He was admitted at the hospital and then he died. So he even died before I gave birth to the baby. He died on the 8th and I gave birth on the 19th of November, 2007.
I see, and the child is doing well, very healthy.
By the grace of God, the child tested negative after 1 year.
Wonderful.
Yeah, because I followed all the procedures. I decided not to breastfeed the child.
So how did you eventually break the news to your family?
This was very difficult because I tried my possible best to hold myself, even though I was asked to break the news to a relative, because taking the medication without any relative is not accepted. So it took me 3 weeks to break the news to my mother. The day I broke the news to her, she just burst into tears. We were all crying. She couldn't hold herself. And I was asking her to be strong for me. So if I'm able to hold the news for this long, and they've not seen any sign, I wake up at dawn and I cry, and nobody sees me. So you have to be strong for me. She said, okay. But she would go and hide and cry. And I see her eyes always red. She wasn't crying in front of me, but she would go inside and cry. It wasn't easy. Because I decided not to breastfeed, I planned with my mother that maybe we'll go and then hide in a village where nobody will bother us with breastfeeding. You know, when you give birth and you don't breastfeed, you know how people can worry you. Why are you not breastfeeding? People will be asking. So we decided to maybe find somewhere and hide. Unfortunately for me, things went wrong. because I already said that we were in the same church. The people from the church went to visit the father of my baby whilst he was sick, and they got to know what was wrong with him. So friends, relatives, church members, some people broke the news to others. And where I used to live was very close to the church. So the news started spreading even whilst I was still in the hospital. I had gone through CS. So I was in the hospital for 1 week. Before I came home, the news was all over. So my mother had to call me on phone and tell me that our plans had failed. So I have to be very strong because we can't hide it anymore. So we came home and it was very bad. But when we got home, it was a compound house. I was expecting that people would start talking about me, hearing people, but I didn't hear that. But my mother would go to town and come with news. My brother would go to town, come with a different news. That this is what people are saying. Calls were coming. People would call to ask whether it is true that I have HIV, and I don't know what to do. Bad news spreads faster. So my name in the neighborhood was all over. And it was very, very tough for me.
So was life normal from then on, and how has it been since?
Life hasn't been normal from then. But thank God that I'm strong now. I can talk now and smile. But then, I couldn't talk with smile. When I'm talking about it, I talk with tears. But as time goes on, there is a saying that goes like, if something doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. So all the things that I've gone through has rather made me stronger. Living in a compound house with people, a lot of people have so many perceptions about HIV. Somebody will understand it, somebody wouldn't understand it. Some thought that I might infect them when I'm using the same bathroom or the same toilet. They couldn't break the news to me, but they took it in a different way by quarreling and fighting me to leave the house. So I left home without knowing where I was going. That is when life became very, very, very tough for me. I was moving all around. When I move and I go and stay in a place, and eventually people get to know of my HIV status, it becomes a problem. When people see or hear that somebody has HIV, they shouldn't treat that person badly. Because anybody at any time can be infected. Had it not been the fact that I was pregnant and I tested, I wouldn't have known. And I would have gone on also maybe with other men, and I would have been spreading it. Nobody would know. So we'll be living normal life. But because I knew and people also knew, that is how come life became very, very tough. I thank God now that I am HIV ambassador, and I'm also teaching others how to treat people living with HIV.
And I think you're doing a good job with that, and you're looking wonderful at the same time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Yvonne. In my line of work, I interact with a lot of people who might be HIV positive. Every day, I work and associate with them because it is the right thing to do. It could be you. You should not reject someone because the person is HIV positive. It is against your human rights. Let us do more. Let us show we care. Let us accept people living with HIV. It could be me. It could be you.
We'll find a way.
So how is life on a daily basis, routine? I mean, when you wake up in the morning, throughout the day until evening, what do you do?
After knowing my HIV status, that wasn't the end. I moved on. So I enrolled in a fashion and designing school, which I have now completed. Hi to my friends who never knew I was HIV positive. They'll be really surprised to know that I'm HIV positive. And also I'm a singer, so I rehearse on a daily basis to keep my voice.
And let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children laughter remind us how we used.
So I take care of my little boy, who is 4 years old now. And as a wife and a mother, I do my possible best. Even though I'm pregnant, I go to the market, I come home, I cook, I make sure that dinner is ready before my husband comes home.
Your oldest child, you say, is 4 years, and I can see you are pregnant at the moment. Why did you decide to have even more children after knowing about your status?
Yeah, I love children, and I'm just 24 years. My son is now 4 years. So after going through all the education that pregnant women with HIV can still have their babies without HIV, that is Dr. Emefa from Kolebu also empowered me by giving me all the knowledge I need to know about it. So from there, I said, well, then I can still marry and then have children. That is how come I got married now and I'm pregnant, because I want to have more children. And I know it's possible now to have children without HIV. And my first child proves to that.
Life as a pregnant woman, tell me about it. How is it like?
A pregnant woman with HIV, we are not treated differently from other pregnant women. I go to the normal antenatal classes, and then I check my weight, I check my urine, if there is any protein, and then I do everything, all the necessary tests that will help me with a healthy pregnancy. And then that's it. I take my medications on time in order to have a healthy life.
So 5 years from now, how do you see yourself with regards to your ambitions, business, family life and all? Tell me about it.
I have been dreaming to be a music star. So I want to see myself in 5 years' time singing. I don't only sing, but I dance. I'm a dancer. So I want to really go high with my singing career and also with my fashion and designing. So in 5 years' time, I want to have a very strong band behind me.
So have you been writing your own music?
Oh yes, I have.
You have a few songs?
Yes.
When are you coming out with your first album?
I can't tell now.
Okay.
When the time comes, the public will know.
All right. So will this be your last baby, or are you going to have more since you like children?
I don't think this will be my last baby. I think I'll have one more. Then I'll have 3.
I see.
Yes.
So do you have any advice for young ones coming up?
I am HIV positive and I've been living with HIV for the past 4 years. Be bold and get tested. It is the right thing to do.
So I wish you all the best, and I'll be there when you're having the baby.
Thank you.
All the best.
3 weeks after meeting Joyce, she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. And 8 months on, Joyce's baby is HIV negative. Touch a heart, save a life. This life story was brought to you by the Ghana AIDS Commission, NAPLAS Ghana, the Danish government, and the US government.